I am so excited because today I'm on with a professional EOS implementer. I think I'm saying that correctly. Implementator-ish. No, I'm just kidding. An EOS implementer, and it's such an important topic because if you're a typical business owner and maybe just feeling like things aren't going quite as smoothly or productively as you would like, this may be the solution for you. So we're excited to talk to Meryl Simmons. Meryl, thanks for spending some time with us here today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you. This is great.
Awesome. All right, so as we get into this, I want to start with a little bit of background. I would love to hear a little bit about how you got into it. Well, let me just share before that. I'm a big fan of EOS. We use this model to run and grow our fitness enterprise in on Long Island, New York, and it was super duper helpful. So totally sold on it. With that said, would love to hear the quick version of what it is, just in case. I'm sure most people have heard of it, but just a short bit about what is EOS.
Yeah, well, I'll start there and then I'll just give you kind of a little bit of a backtrack of how got started.
Mm-hmm.
EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System, is a simple, proven, practical framework for running a better business. Sounds so simple, but it really is true. It is not a software. I joke often that I help leadership teams and business owners to fill out a bunch of blank charts because it truly is as foundational as those very practical and logical tools that make a lot of sense to like create a strong operating rhythm and strong foundations with how you operate in your business that we really just take for granted. We kind of start our entrepreneurial journey, we build something, we're like pushing up our sleeves and we're moving so
Yeah.
quickly. And we don't really take the time to build these strong foundations,
Mm,
which really help us to move our business from, good to great, so to
mm,
speak.
yeah.
Really help us when we're hitting a ceiling maybe in our business to get clarity, to have the structure and a system that makes sense, and to really run our business with precision. And
Mm,
so EOS provides us simple tools, frameworks, and disciplines that really allow you to transform your business and your team. And I actually started out my career in healthcare. I'm a clinician by default, so I worked and helped to grow multi location medical practices. I then spent about 10 plus years in the medical device industry doing coaching and training from a different capacity, but still working with small business owners who are always really challenged by, that scaling part of the business, right? Once you kind of exited that toddler phase of your business and you became a little bit more of a teenager, right? You
mm-hmm.
sort of just were on autopilot, but you'd still run into these things in your business that just didn't work. Whether it be hiring the right people for your business or maybe having people problems, maybe you weren't getting the results that you needed to get, whether that be more revenue or more profit. Or maybe you were just really scattered, right, in your focus, and like you were constantly putting out fires in your business. And I saw that all throughout my career, whether it be from that small business owner and even to the corporate business that I was in. I was in a business that had about 300 people within the business, a medium sized business, a global brand. And we went through a lot of change and structure. And we were constantly just racking up what I like to call dumb tax, wasted time, wasted resources, wasted energy, frustrations, because things were just always so scattered. Nothing was as clear as it needed to be. And things were just harder than they needed to be. And while we were successful in spite of ourselves. And so I actually stumbled upon EOS through my husband, who's also a lifelong entrepreneur. When I left my corporate kind of stability and started out on my own, he introduced me to the book called Traction, which is by the founder of EOS. Many of you who are listening may or may not have heard of it or read that book. And I thought to myself, holy cow, this is what every business needs. So
Yeah.
I continued my journey as a consultant and then a coach, and pursued really just my coaching practice and in truly utilizing the EOS framework to help my clients to build a better business and a more valuable business and hopefully a better life.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned the book Traction. I think I read that book. Possibly, I read that book more than any other book. There's like maybe 3 to 5 books that I've read many times, and
Yeah.
that is one of them. So yeah, I couldn't recommend that book enough for really anybody out there. And
Yeah.
let's get into the little bit of the core of it. What would you say are the core or the key components of
Sure.
the EOS system?
Yeah. Well, like I said, the tools are simple. There are 20 tools in the EOS toolbox. We've always got to start with the leadership team, right? So whenever we're doing anything company wide, we've got to start at the top. Clarity begins there. Um, you know, the 6 key components in the EOS system are vision, people, data, issues, process, and traction. And so, one of the first things we want to do is make sure that we're aligned on the vision. Who are we? Where are we going? And how we'll get there. So, we use simple tools. We answer 8 simple questions to actually help us to get aligned. It's a 2-page document, not a 20-page,
Mm-hmm.
business plan of helping us to get strong on where we're going and how we're going to get there. And from there, though, we need to make sure we've got the right structure and the right people because you can't execute a vision if you've got the wrong people and the wrong seats on the bus. So we've got to build structure. We do that with another simple tool called the accountability chart. You can think about that as your like an outcomes based org chart, right? Making sure we've got clarity around what are the core functions in your business? How do we define them? One of the problems that I had in my career was like I was in a role that was constantly being redefined, and no one ever really told me what that role,
Mm,
what good looked like in that role. And there's nothing more infuriating,
yeah.
frustrating, and just like spinning your wheels on not knowing what it is that success looks like and how you can be successful as a contributor to an organization. And I see lots of business owners kind of get tripped up there. They just sort of assume that everyone knows what the job is. And then they're so disappointed every single time that that person isn't necessarily giving or meeting the expectations that they're looking for, but they've not done the work to actually define what that role is. So once we get clear on the vision, we build some structure. We then need to translate that into 90-day priorities. Oftentimes, we're kind of, again, just sort of like responding or reacting to whatever fire drill is coming up or whatever thing we think is, exciting at that moment, whatever maybe big deal or big opportunity we're being faced with. And so we're all over the place in how we focus our priorities as a business. And so if you're a business who wants to grow and wants to scale, you've got to get focused and get clear on setting clear priorities. And we do that in EOS and with the teams that I work with in a 90-day cycle. So
Mm-hmm.
every 90-day, we're setting a new rhythm of focus for these 90-day priorities. And they should align with your long term vision, right? Your 90-day priorities should align with your annual plan. And again, I see a lot of disconnect out there of, oh, we're focused on this now, or we're focused on that now. And they're the wrong things. They're not the things that are going to move our business forward to help us to really execute that plan. And then lastly, it's not enough to just have a goal, right? A 90-day priority. It's great. We got to get clear. We got to make sure it's going to be actually something to move the needle. But we got to have a system to really ensure that we're executing every single day, every single week, every month until we get to the next quarter to make sure we're actually driving traction, moving that goal forward. And we do that on a weekly meeting cadence called the L10 or the level 10 meeting structure. That is a proven structure. You'll never want to have another meeting again that's not utilizing this agenda. You've got clear ownership. You're making traction on your 90-day priorities. You're looking at a weekly scorecard, no more monthly KPIs rather. When you're operating your business on something that's just a monthly report of what happened last month, you're working in the past. You've got to be able to be more proactive and a better predictor rather of what's actually working in the business. And if it's not working and it's off track, you've got to fix it within that weekly type of basis, so you don't get to the end of the month and it starts to hit the bottom line. So those are kind of the core, principles, if you will, Billy. I think that really set teams up for success. That's like the nooks and crannies. There's more to it than that, but those are the gold nuggets, right? That really help you move forward and get traction.
Yeah, definitely. That was very good. Just a quick wrap up on that. So the six key components you mentioned, it was vision, people, data, issues, traction, and what was the other one?
Process.
Process. Okay. And then
Yep.
the last points you made would be under process, like the 90-day priorities and the level 10, or
Actually,
no?
that falls under the traction piece.
Oh, okay.
So when we look at traction, it's like, how do we bring that vision down to the ground? And we do that through a weekly meeting cadence. We do that through a quarterly planning cadence. Um, and through 90-day priorities through what we call rocks in EOS. Those are those big things that we determine that are going to move the business forward.
Perfect. That's actually a good segue because we'll touch on a little bit of application here. But before that, you mentioned the child. You said the business as a child goes through a teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
What is a good time frame for people to think through? When do I need to do something like this?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the truth is whether you're running your business as a solopreneur or you're running your business as a 10 to 300 person company,
Hmm.
having structures and frameworks are always important.
Yeah.
When you're trying to scale, so when is the best time? Well, they usually bring it in when they've actually already hit a ceiling. Maybe like growth has made things messy. You've added
Hmm.
a lot of people quickly. You've expanded in locations. You're hitting a ceiling on revenue. You're not profitable. That's usually when people are like, this
Hmm.
is starting to feel painful, right? We're putting out fires constantly. But the truth is like, just like a house, it's never too early to fix the roof, right? To have a strong roof on your house before the storm. But the teams I work with are anywhere from 10 to 300 people in size, about north of 2 million in revenue. You want to be growth minded. And if you want to try to avoid a lot of the pain points that businesses face, bringing in a system like EOS is a sure way to do it with a coach and with that accountability. So, again, I think I gave you the two scenarios when they're already in pain, which is
Yeah.
typically they've hit a ceiling, or if they really want to keep growing at that fast pace, running your system on this operating system is definitely going to be helpful in driving that speed that you want to go.
That's good. I just from personal experience. So we followed all of that with our growing our gym business. We had 10 team of 10, which is actually on the bigger
Yeah,
side for our sort of training model industry,
totally.
and we did. I would say we followed it really closely. I was really really on top of that. And now that I'm running another business and things look quite different, the team is smaller. I still follow a lot of the principles, and it just looks a little bit different. So, do you really just to echo that point? It's like the concepts apply to anybody because it's
Yes.
like people ask me like, when should I get financial systems in place? It's like, well, really, before you start, right, or day one,
Right.
they're going to look
Mhm.
different than if it was a huge business. But people make the mistake, I think, in both areas of saying, like, I'll get to that when I get to this certain point. Whereas if you build a good foundation, you're going to be that much ahead of the game. So,
Yeah, totally. I mean, I use it to run my business as well. And I'm,
hmm.
essentially a solopreneur. I have a few contract workers that I work with,
Hmm.
one in the financial piece, one in the content piece. But like, if I didn't utilize a system like that, I'd be all over the place. It's sometimes
Yeah.
even more distracting as a solopreneur because
Yeah.
there you are, you're doing everything in your business. And so how do you like avoid the dumb mistakes that kind of sabotage growth and profits and overall success? And certainly running your business on a system is the way to go. Totally.
Aw- Awesome. And just while we're here, we'll put it in the show notes as well. But we're going to wrap up with a little bit of application. But people want to find out more about you, connect with you. What's the best place to do that?
Oh yeah, thanks for asking. So people can connect with me at on claritycoach.io. That's my site. You can read about me there. I host events and post them there. So sign up for my email. I share a lot of practical educational tips. Feel free to reach out to me via email, Meryl at claritycoach.io. I'm more than happy to set up a clarity call and answer any questions you might have. And of course, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I post pretty regularly there, Meryl Simmons on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. Just a little bit of application. I don't have any like overly specific questions, but we mentioned things like the rocks and the level 10 meetings and the accountability chart. But just like a lot of things, it's like we have to start somewhere. So let's just
Yeah.
say I'm kind of learning about all this stuff. I want to get started. You did mention the clarity of the vision as a good place to start with the 8 questions. Anything else around like where do I start? Maybe I'm overwhelmed with all these pieces. What would you say?
Yeah, I love that. And you know what, Billy, you bring up a really great point. While EOS is it is a very simple framework, right? It's definitely not rocket science, but it can be overwhelming to implement. And so, I mean, certainly starting with the book is a great way to do it, like you did. If you start
Mm-hmm.
reading the book Traction, I actually have a download on my website to the first chapter.
Nice.
So it's a great place to go. I also can drop in the show notes a an educational toolkit that I've put together for my followers that goes through how to use that 2-page vision planning document. I've created an educational video and step-by-step guide. So if someone really wants to start there, I'm happy to walk them through that. I'll drop that link over to you that you can share. Yeah, the book. I think talking to a coach is a really smart plan. I meet self implementers a lot, and there are a lot of resources out there. And I think if you're really serious about implementing something like this into your business, working with a coach and a facilitator is a really strong move to help guide you. I say that not just because that's what I do, but I
Mm-hmm.
say that because I meet teams that self implement and they just kind of take one or two things. Like they take the rocks, for example. So they are like, let's start here. And it's great. Like it's a
Yeah.
great way to start. Like you can get some kind of like quick wins, but they don't go deep enough. And then they kind of find themselves back into the same sort of routine or lack of consistency that they started with. And so if you're looking for stickiness, if you're looking for accountability, just like every professional athlete has a coach, every business owner should have a coach that helps them drive this precision, intention, and success. The tools are all available for download. The Vision Traction Organizer, which is that 2-page um, vision planning tool. There's lots of videos everywhere, all over the internet. But I think it's about really implementing with success. And so, you can start anywhere. You can start there. You can start with an L10 meeting too. But if you don't have the right people in your business, like you're constantly spinning your wheels. So all the tools are great. And I'm going to caveat that with, you know, if you really want to if you really want to move like with rocket fuel in your business, you've got to implement the whole thing in the way that it was intended. I don't know if that was the answer you were looking for,
Yeah.
Billy. I know you're looking for something more practical. Hopefully, my Clarity Kit is another practical tool, but I feel really strongly because I meet a lot of people that self implement and they're still kind of like stuck,
Mm-hmm.
um, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, definitely. I mean, you're definitely preaching to the choir if it's about coaching, and people listening are coaches themselves, so they definitely see the value in coaching, or else they're hypocrites. So yeah, we know that. But with that said, we don't want to make sure that we're giving people an idea and some
Totally.
possible next steps. And I think we did a good job of that. So yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
sharing all that. I'll just kind of wrap with some of my own insight. I've worked with hundreds of gym owners and even in other industries, and you will definitely see a correlation between the ones that, yes, to your point, like just try to do things on their own, but also the ones that are just kind of stuck in the grind and just like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
do more and get
Totally.
more clients, but they're never really getting above it. I just read in a leadership book talking about the difference between the weather. So we could say, okay, today's cold, today's hot, today's rainy, today's snowy, and that's important. That's like the equivalent of the business saying, oh, we have this client issue, we have this marketing thing we're doing, we have this meeting, and yeah, those things are important. But then there's the bigger picture, which is like
That's
we call
right.
it the climate, is like, what's happening like next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. And major correlation between the business owners that are they don't ignore in that example, the weather, but they are also looking up. They're able to get above things, and something like this is a great way to do that. I mean, it's proven. So many of the best businesses are following this model or something very similar. So yeah, I definitely encourage everyone to follow Meryl, check out the kit, and yeah, start implementing this. Because I think yes, there's lots of pieces. At the same time, you have to just start doing it, right? You learn a lot from doing it, and just getting in there, getting your hands dirty. Start with that, whether it's the vision or one of those other pieces, and go from there. So Meryl, thanks so much
To-
for sharing with us. Is there any final words you'd like to share, or maybe something I didn't ask you that maybe would have been helpful?
Well, I don't know if this helps your viewers and when it might be posted, but I am leading people through how to do an annual planning meeting on December 8th.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to share information about that because as we take a look at and as you talk about, right, kind of like getting out of the weeds, right, looking at the climate. So as we take a look at planning for 2026, right, oftentimes we think about it as a great idea, but we don't actually know how to execute that. So for people who are looking how to plan for a successful year moving forward, I'm running a great course. I'll share that. And another book I want to share because I love it so much is The Road Less Stupid by Keith
Yeah.
Cunningham.
Mm-hmm.
Read that book. It's so good.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Those two great books, and yeah, great being with you, Meryl. Thanks so much for sharing all about EOS and what it is and how it could help. And I think we're better for it. So yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, we'll definitely post all of that info for those different tools and events. And yeah, we'll continue growing, finish the year strong, and make next year even better.
Yeah. Thanks, Billy.